Once Upon a Beauty Time. I am so excited to be back here today with my first video in a very long time. I kind of fell off the face of the social media world for a little bit, but I'm back, I'm here, and I'm doing a video that is quite highly requested after I posted a photo of it on my Instagram page. So a little while ago I did a very big order from Makeup Geek, and I am so excited to show you my baby of a palette. This is my collection of eyeshadows now in my brand new Z palette. That is the extra large one, which I bought off the Makeup Geek website as well. Not all of these are Makeup Geek eyeshadows. 15 of them are from my MAC eyeshadow palette that I customized and made a long time ago when I went to Hong Kong. And one of them is also an Urban Decay single eyeshadow, which I depotted. So today's video is going to be my Makeup Geek eyeshadow haul and review and swatches of shadows that I picked up. There are definitely a lot of these that have flooded the subscription feed for YouTube, I should say. God, I'm so out of practice with this, and it looks like I have no top on, but I promise you I've got a little singlet on. It's a little bit warm here today in Sydney, but no, I thought why not add another one of these to the pile. So without further ado, let us just jump straight into it. The first shadow that I have just in this top corner here is a Makeup Geek shadow, and this is called Ice Queen. Ice Queen is a very stark white, but it has a little bit of a shimmer to it as well, which I absolutely love. Very highly pigmented, and you'll definitely hear that across the whole board of the Makeup Geek eyeshadows, especially with the foiled formula, but this is stunning. I love it as an inner corner highlight, even using it as a kind of white gold highlight for the tops of the cheekbones as well. Really beautiful, not chalky at all either, which I love. The next two shadows I have, these two here are both matte colors, so I've just got Vanilla and Shroom. Won't really go much into those. Vanilla is just like a matte cream, and Shroom is a kind of beige toned shimmery highlight. The next Makeup Geek shadow that I have though is Shimmer Shimmer. Now I was tossing up whether to actually purchase this because I have a lot of colors like this, but I'm so glad that I did, because the undertone and the pigment and the quality of this is just far superior to anything that I own. So Shimmer Shimmer is a kind of champagne but almost slight apricot undertoned shimmery champagne color. It is so highly pigmented. It is absolutely out of this world. I love this for popping on the inner corner, all over the lid as a brow bone highlight. It is just absolutely amazing. The next shadow that I've got in my palette is another MAC shadow, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's just all that glitters, so nothing too crazy there. The final two shadows which I have in the top row are Beaches and Cream and Creme Brulee. It's so funny actually, when I was watching so many videos, tutorials and things, I always thought it was Peaches and Cream, and then I remember when I went onto the website I was like, Beaches and Cream? What is this? Is this a different color? And I was like, oh my gosh, are they trying to be punny and witty? I had a little bit of a cackle to myself, but it is definitely a beautiful color nonetheless. I can't even say it now. Beaches and Cream is a very light, kind of warm toned, like a caramelly sort of color, but it works absolutely amazingly as a transition shade. It is 1 to 2 shades darker than my natural skin tone, so that is the perfect kind of shade that you want to be popping in that crease as a transition color before you go in with darker shadows, because it'll just help it to blend out a whole lot better. So that is an absolute winner of a shade. And then Creme Brulee is a little bit darker, so I guess think of if you've got a creme brulee and you've done your sugar and you've heated it all up and you get that really nice golden sort of glow. It's definitely something like that, and the two work brilliantly well in creating depth and transition into your crease. So I love those guys. Use them every single day. It's ridiculous. The first shade in my second row is just a MAC shadow that is Amber Lights, a really gorgeous warm toned gold. Moving swiftly on though, the next two I have are Latte and Frappe. Now, I thought from online that they looked really similar and I was like, should I get both? And I'm kind of glad that I did. So Frappe is much more warm toned, really gorgeous as well. This one is a matte shadow, and again it just works brilliantly well in adding depth and warmth to the crease. I love popping this on kind of over the top of darker colors, so say like something like I've got on today, throwing a little bit of Frappe on top just to bring a little bit of extra dimension and warmth to the look, and it's really, really gorgeous. For matte shadows, these are not chalky at all. They're really nice and creamy and they blend out like an absolute dream. Then Latte is, I don't want to say it's a cool tone shadow because it is still quite warm toned, but it's much more cool toned than what Frappe is. Frappe has a very terracotta red undertone to it, whereas Latte is much more of a milk chocolate sort of coloured undertone you'll see in the swatches, and I'm sure you'll understand what I'm trying to say. Again, a matte shadow, but still super easy to blend out and work with. The next four shadows that I have in the second row are all MAC shades. I've just got Sable, Satin Taupe, Woodwinked and Mulch. The next one I have is Cosmopolitan. Now this was another shade that I was kind of like umming and ahhing about, but again, so glad that I went with my gut and I picked it up. It's quite a unique shade. I've never come across anything quite like it. It's a very coppery sort of colour, which I absolutely love. Coppers are right up my alley, but it has this really unique kind of apricot sunset sort of look to it. A very highly pigmented colour as well, very intense in its shimmer, but it's got this sort of beautiful rose gold kind of reflect. The next one that I have is Roulette, and it is kind of like a darker version of Cosmopolitan. Much more deep in its coppery sort of shades, but it's just got a little bit less of that sort of gold reflect, which makes it a little bit lighter. So this is definitely more of like a brown copper, but still quite light. It's nothing that's too dark either. And again, super creamy, super pigmented. I'm going to sound like a broken record when it comes to all these shadows, but an absolutely stunning shade, especially if you do have blue or green or hazel eyes. It's something that works absolutely brilliantly. The next shade in my palette, which is just this one here, this is a MAC shadow Coppering, sort of similar to Roulette, but it is a lot more red and earthy in its tone. In the very middle here I have Cocoa Bear, a really nice warm toned brown that's kind of like a mid-tone as well. Absolutely love this for deepening up that crease, popping it in the outer corner, and it works really nice as kind of like a base for any sort of coppery tones as well. It just gives it that extra dimension, that extra depth, which I absolutely love. The next shadow I have is just a MAC shadow. This is Antiqued. And then I have Brown Sugar by Makeup Geek. Now this is another shimmery brown warm tone shade. I'm all about the warm tones in this palette, and it is really gorgeous. Definitely more of your darker brown, but it's got these kind of subtle hints and reflex of that warm coppery sort of terracotta shades running through it, so it works beautifully well with like Cocoa Bear. The next shades that I have just on the end here, these two, they are both MAC shadows. One is Mystery and then I have Espresso, and then I'm going to go back around the other way for these guys. These are all my purpley sort of plum tones, which again are something that I really love to work with. They just make green and hazel eyes absolutely pop. So the first one that I have is Bitten. Now this was hands down one of the shades that I had at the very top of my list. I'd seen so many people use this in tutorials and I was just like, oh my god, like I need this in my life. I love blushes that are this kind of color, so I knew that I had to grab some eyeshadows in it because it is just a color that I've never really been able to find or source singly anyway, that are of this sort of rich burgundy plum sort of shade. So absolutely love this, and it is also fully matte, so there's no shimmer in this one either. The next shade is Cranberry by MAC, and then I have Sketch by MAC as well. The next one across is then Sensuous. This is a Makeup Geek shadow, and it is this really gorgeous kind of purpley tone that's quite cool. It's almost like it's got taupe veins in it as well, and then it has this very subtle, a little bit of a chunkier but finely milled gold reflect. I can't explain it. You'll see it in the swatches though, and as you start to blend it out a little bit more, this kind of really rich sort of orange can start to come of it. The next one I have is Last Dance. Now this kind of looks similar to Sensuous, but it's a lot darker. It doesn't have so much of that gold reflect that Sensuous has, but again it's got this subtle warm undertone, a little bit more of like a cocoa bear sort of undertone to it, so I really enjoy this. And the last shadow that I have that is part of my purpley kind of range here is Unexpected, and this is really beautiful. It's like a color that I've never quite come across as well. It's a very light sort of lavender taupe sort of shade that is really gorgeous. I just thought it would work really nicely as a transition shade for whenever I do want to work with just purples and create a little bit more of a cool toned effect. So this is definitely more of a cool toned shadow. Definitely again that sort of taupe undertone, which is really beautiful. Alrighty, and now to probably one of my favorite rows. This is my sort of foiled Makeup Geek eyeshadow row. Aside from, I have MAC Typographic just in the corner there, a really nice kind of dark charcoal. And then as I mentioned in the beginning, this is Lounge by Urban Decay. I used it in one of my more recent tutorials and it's so magical. I didn't really get a chance to talk about it in my Get Ready With Me, but it is a almost duo or like trio sort of toned eyeshadow that is like blue and brown, and then as you blend it, it has this gorgeous kind of warm tone that comes from it. It's just incredible. But aside from that, going back to Makeup Geek, I have a few of their foiled shadows and they are out of this world. They are so creamy. They are so bloody pigmented and they just glide on the eyes. This one I have is Whimsical. Now it's coming off much brighter in camera, but it is a pink toned sort of highlight, very cool toned, which is really nice, especially if you're working with sort of purples. The next one that I have is In the Spotlight, and this is a really nice, it looks so much more apricot in the pan, but when you actually swatch it, it's imagine a slightly warmer but more intense version of Shimmer Shimmer. So a perfect just neutral sort of highlight that will work brilliantly well with any eyeshadow look, and I absolutely love that. The next one that I have is Grandstand, and this is amazing. So beautiful. It's this very warm mid-tone brown shade and it's just, oh, it's just out of this world. I can't even say anything more about it. It is gorgeous. I love using this. It's so versatile. And then the next one I have is Mesmerized. So this is a little bit of a darker, more cool tone brown. Really gorgeous as well. Highly pigmented. You know, all of these are just so buttery and creamy and smooth. So absolutely love that one as well. And the final shade that I have, which goes absolutely perfectly with Bitten, is Showtime. This is this gorgeous, deep, rich, brown toned burgundy, and oh, I had this on the other day with like a brown smoky eye and a deep sort of lip, and it just looked amazing. So there you have it, guys. There is my review and info and swatches of my ginormous Z palette, a mix of MAC, Urban Decay, and of course Makeup Geek shadows. If you want any more information on the MAC shadows that I have in this palette, I will leave a link down below to that. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a double thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you aren't already. Thank you again, and I will see you in the very near future. I promise this time. Thanks guys, bye!